The Out of Bounds Show podcast is powered by the DeWalt tools at Ace Bolt and Screw. Visit acebolt.net for a location near you.
With Low Bounds.
Streaming live worldwide on the Out of Bounds radio app.
And on your radio at ESPN 105.9.
All set? Let's go.
The Zone.
And good morning. Wow. Crazy weekend. Welcome in. Good morning to you. Thanks for listening to the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We are streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app and the Zone1059.com. I hope most of you had a good weekend as we'll recap the wacky and wild super regionals both here and around the country. The show is powered by the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook, an award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. Hit dancingrabbitgolf.com. Go ahead and book a tee time or a guy's trip, a buddy's trip to the sportsbook and the golf course in Phillip M's. I've got Blake Mania with me. I am your host, Bo Bounds. We'll get to Blake always getting in a picture, trying to hog the spotlight a little bit later in the show. But you can hit us up on the Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line. I'm on remote from Starkville, so today's number is 601-995-1059, brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Twitter handle at BoBounds, presented by Ace Bolt and Screw, powered by DeWalt Tools. We'll be there next week for a live remote. Looking forward to that. And your text line, 601-885-3776. 885-3776. And it is brought to you by the good folks at Mississippi Ag. Manage your land with a John Deere tractor from Mississippi Ag. And again, welcome in. Good morning. Thank you for those of you listening on the dial, 105.9 The Zone ESPN. Thank you for streaming the show. And we've got a good show lined up for you today. And This could be crazy, both today and the next couple of days for both Hail State and Ole Miss baseball. We'll start with what played out yesterday, which a little bit of a struggle to say the least, right? As Notre Dame dominated Hail State at the Dude, another great crowd. Saturday is something that I've been going to longer than 1980, but I can remember Bruce Castoria in 1980. And I can remember chasing home run balls in the outfield in 80 and 81 and 82 as a kid. And so Saturday, I've never experienced an atmosphere like that at MSU. And I've been to plenty of, the old regional format, regional, super regionals, whatever. And that was electric in Starkville. That crowd, I thought, willed them to win, right? Notre Dame, 4 eras, not like them, 980-plus fielding, all that. On that same day, of course, Nikhazy did what he does so well, and Ole Miss got after Arizona to force a Game 3. And yesterday, again, Hail State dominated, Ole Miss dominated by Arizona. And it's one that, you're frustrated. You come away, you want to win, you should want to win. There's an enormous amount of pride in the two programs. Mississippi State has been there for, 45 years. Ole Miss, the last 20, has not just gone all in, but they are committed to the sport. And so today we wake up on a Monday, and we've got a Game 3 tonight with everything on the line, winner take all, between MSU and Notre Dame. And I think Notre Dame's lineup is better. Now, the mound, they're pitching a guy that's only been in, 7 games in his college career. So whereas yesterday they had 5 seniors and 3 juniors in their lineup, which is the recipe for success in college baseball. If you can get old somehow, some way, especially every 4 to 5 years, but COVID obviously worked for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. If you can get old in the lineup, man, does that give you an advantage. Mississippi State rolled out 5 freshmen in game 1. So I think Blake and I have been going back and forth on this. And we have fun debating. He took a little bit of a different angle. I take a different angle. Sometimes he's right, sometimes I'm right. But throughout the year, I have questioned the lineup. Is the pitching really as good as advertised? Is it really special? I don't think it is. I think it's good. I mean, Landon Sims is special. But is it as special as kind of what the buzz was in February? And Notre Dame will go inexperienced on the mound to start the game. And it's not like Houston Harding's, been there for Mississippi State forever. But when you're rolling out 8 juniors and seniors, man, is that a difference maker. And then on the flip side of that, Ole Miss gets blown out last night by the Arizona Wildcats, who have one heck of a team, by the way. They can rake just like Notre Dame. And boy, can they rake. And they kind of threw out a guy last night who eventually, after making a change, figured it out. And they did what they needed to do after having that explosive inning. But they can rake. In that ballpark, Kyle Peterson framed it up for us last week. He talked about the gaps and how big the outfield is. And I wish we could have even had better camera angles. But that former Colorado Rockies minor league baseball field in Tucson, Arizona, that thing's a bear. And you could tell throughout the series. There's question marks around Mike Bianco. Did he coach his last game at Ole Miss? Did Mike Bianco coach his last game at Ole Miss? 21 seasons in Oxford, Mississippi. Arguably the most successful coach of all time. Wherever you want to go with that. Bianco, Vault, Bianco. There's been band chancellor and some other, but let's, kind of keep it real here. Mike Bianco totally, built the program to where it lived in the regionals and super regionals. But there is a little bit of a hiccup here. And the hiccup is in game 3 of super regionals, Mike Bianco's 1-5. And one of the other regionals, they were swept by Arizona State. In Tempe, Arizona State's had good clubs over the years. And then 3, in another regional, they beat Louisiana Lafayette. And so people are asking, I think some people today, just because of what just happened, well, he can go on to LSU. Well, you don't know if Cliff Godwin or maybe Dan McDonald, although there's strong rumors that Dan McDonald likes the path that Louisville has to try to grab a national seed through the ACC rather than the SEC. But if Bianco was going to move on, would Cliff Godwin leave his alma mater, East Carolina, to go back to Ole Miss where he was a number 1 assistant under Mike Bianco? But can Skip Burtman and Ben McDonald, one, get it done through the LSU powers to be, and they carry a big stick, and 2, once they make the pitch, does Mike Bianco, you've got your legendary coach that you played for and one of your closest friends who is the biggest name in LSU baseball in Ben McDonald, asking you to come home, so to speak, and get the program right. Now, this program's not in shambles, right? They just pushed Tennessee to game 3 of the Super Regionals, and they were able to win and out Nord and so on, and they have plenty of talent. But what does Mike Bianco do, Blake Mania? If he gets the firm offer, can he say? You remember what Bear Bryant said when he left Texas A&M or once he got to Alabama? When Mama calls, right? And so what is going to happen? Now it's been 21 seasons. His kids are out of the house. He's done almost everything you can do except win a natty. He's made a ton of money. Does he go down and do the last chapter in Baton Rouge at his alma mater? Welcome in. Good morning. This is the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. The text line, 601-885-3776. Big board coming up next. The Out of Bounds Show podcast is brought to you by Boar's Head, premium meats, cheeses, and hummus. Boar's Head, compromise elsewhere. All right, good morning. Welcome in. Hope you're doing well. Not sure how your weekend went just because of, we had everything's on the line in the Super Regionals. Man, can you feel it? It is every single pitch and every at-bat. But still better than being at home, right? If you're in the win or lose, those are the things that you want going through kind of your body as a fan because playing in big games is so much fun, or big series, or however you want to frame it up, postseason play for that matter. The Big Board is brought to you by Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center. State-of-the-art, patient-friendly, brand new surgery center and clinic, Lakeland Drive, Flowood, MississippiSportsMedicine.com. This is 105.9 The Zone, ESPN, WRKS. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app and thezone1059.com. And we appreciate you streaming the show or listening on the dial on 105.9 The Zone. The Out of Bounds Show, also presented by Mississippi Ag. And that text line is 601-885-3776. 885-3776. We got a monster game tonight, as Notre Dame and MSU will go in Game 3. And I'd love to know how you feel. How do you feel about Game 3 in Starkville? The bullpen for Mississippi State still has, they have plenty of arms. And I guess they'll roll out Houston Harding. You know that Landon Sims can give you at least 2, if not 3 innings, maybe more. And then you've got some other guys, Simmons and so on, that could throw. Notre Dame has 5 seniors and 3 juniors in their lineup. They're old. That's what you want to be. That's what COVID delivered for them, for whatever reason. I obviously haven't tracked the whole thing, but they are older, and they have been there and done that, and you've got a lot of guys for Mississippi State that have never been in this position other than Tanner and Rowdy. So, actually, they haven't been in, Hancock, DeBrule, Forsyth, Cam James, and Logan Tanner, and whoever's going to play left, I guess Brad Cumbus, have not been in that situation. Now, the flip side is Notre Dame's going to roll out a dude on the mound that does not have a lot of experience. But is it going to be all about hitting today? If it is, Notre Dame's a better hitting lineup. Mississippi State can hit at times. I thought yesterday was telling, Blake, when Forsyth, who struggled, I think he was like 5 of 55 at that point, got a base hit somewhere around the 4th inning or somewhere. It was the second time for Rowdy Tanner and Cam James to come up. No outs. Forsyth's on first. And Rowdy strikes out, Tanner Allen strikes out, and Cam James strikes out.
Yep.
Now, you could go to some other things, in the field and some errors, and I understand that neither Bednar nor McLeod were, on point necessarily over the weekend. But I just think we've been talking about this forever, for the last 3 or 4 months, is that Notre Dame's shortstop in the 9-hole is 6 of 8 this weekend. Okay? He's lived on base. They can hit up and down, the first 3, the middle 3, and on the back end. There's just a lot of pressure on Rowdy and Tanner to make it happen, to manufacture a rally or a few runs. And, I guess that could change, but I don't see it changing. And that little dude for Notre Dame who was throwing mostly between 78 and 81. Now, he would get up to 89, 90, but he was that perfect kind of cocktail, just throwing a bunch of you-know-what, and really kept the lineup, Mississippi State lineup, off balance. Flip side, Ole Miss, that thing was over early. And, I think there'll be a lot of questions. We've been down this road so many times. I feel like, it's ground. I really do feel like, it's just a rerun or whatever. Blake hasn't lived this as long as I have on the air. Mike Bianco's an excellent coach. But there's something weird about Game 3 in the Super Regional. He's 1-5. And not only is he 1-5, but he's minus 31 overall in Game 3s of Super Regionals. And I'm not here to, beat up on Bianco, but the bottom line is the bottom line. He's 1-5 in Game 3 of Super Regionals, and he's minus 31 overall in Game 3 of the Super Regionals. And yes, it's hard to win, and yes, they played Texas, Miami, UVA, Arizona this past weekend, among other very, tough teams. But you got to punch your ticket through those type programs. You just do, right? I mean, Mississippi State recently has punched their ticket through UVA, Stanford, and at Vandy to go to the CWS. It is a brutal run, one that maybe we don't really, really emphasize enough, how difficult it is to get through Super Regionals. The Pac-12 has been a thorn in the side of Mississippi State for years. And it got Ole Miss last night. You go out there, it gets weird. Arizona comes to Mississippi State. I think it was 2016.
It was.
In the Super Regional. And MSU had a fantastic team, and they lost. Jake Mangum will tell you that's the best team he played on, even though it didn't advance to the College World Series.
A lot of comparisons to Arkansas, where they didn't lose a series all season. Or lost one maybe, but ended up winning they were 21-9 or something like that in SEC play, and kind of dominant, and won the SEC outright, and then lost their home super, just like Arkansas did this season.
Yeah. And look, let's just be honest. How do I frame this? More refined and advanced travel ball is kind of the elixir. And look, out west or Notre Dame type kids, it's just now I just think there's more players to choose from, and there's more one-on-one individual instruction and all that. Now, what we've talked about the last few years is how far that whole deal has come in the state of Mississippi. Right? I mean, you looked at the high school baseball teams in the state this year, and it was unbelievable. And that all started happening when those kids were 5 years old. I know some of it's gross. It's probably a 95-5 split, but it is part of the deal. And so you're now, for years, Polk signed majority of his kids out of state, right? We just didn't have the youth programs and, again, enough refined and advanced kids that could play. That has changed the last 20 years, 10 years, and 5 years, and I expect these next however many classes to have more SEC caliber, legit guys, going forward for MSU and Ole Miss. But, Blake, I go back to Notre Dame with 5 seniors and 3 juniors. Yeah. You can't beat that. There's nothing that Lemonis and Gautreaux and Foxhall can scheme up today to beat that. Now, they could win the game, but there's nothing you can find like an edge to trump 5 seniors and 3 juniors in a lineup.
No,
you can't.
At this point, it's as they say, it's about the hosses, right? I mean, it's what you got under the hood. Can you go get it? Because all the work's been done. But I will say this: we talked about kind of the way yesterday went with some teams. Both Arkansas and Ole Miss chose to start the best pitcher who happened to be a closer. Mississippi State has that same option to start Landon Sims, I'm interested on the other side to get your thoughts on them maybe deciding not to do that, as opposed to how Mike Bianco and Dave Van Horde decided to do that.
I like it. Let's discuss on the SEC Insider Hit. The big board was brought to you by Ace Bolt and Screw, powered by DeWalt Tools. New retail location, Gluckstadt, Madison County, acebolt.net. acebolt.net. Blake Scott with me. I'm your host, Bo Bounds. Want to say good morning to you. Hope you're doing well, or working through doing well, depending on where you were this weekend. We are the Out of Bounds Show. This is 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. Steve Robertson will join us in the second hour. Out of Bounds SEC Insider Hit coming up next.
The Out of Bounds Show podcast is powered by Breezy Oaks Ranch. For Mississippi-raised premium Wagyu beef and heritage pork shipped straight to your door, visit breezyoaksranch.com.
All right, good morning. Welcome in. It's game day for Mississippi State and Notre Dame, and there will be questions asked for Ole Miss. As another Game 3 loss for Mike Bianco and the Rebels, and that was a tough one as it was a blowout in Tucson last night. Want to welcome you in. This is 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app and thezone1059.com. Tonight's game, Mississippi State, Notre Dame at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock tonight as Hail State will host Notre Dame. Joe Theismann was in the house a couple of days ago in Starkville. Joe Theismann won the Heisman. Well, that's why he changed his name. Joe Theismann won the Heisman at Notre Dame, played for the Washington Redskins, and had a good career and Super Bowl and so on. And then we all remember the Lawrence Taylor Monday Night Football sack that broke his leg. He never came back. But Theismann's been on TV and done all sorts of things over the years, so he was in the house supporting his Fighting Irish. Your SEC Insider Hit this morning brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. The caller line is 601-995-1059. And again, want to welcome you in. I've got Blake Mania with me. I'm your host, Bo Bounds. We'll have Steve Robertson in about 45 minutes to discuss tonight's game between the Fighting Irish and Mississippi State. So Blake had a question for me. And, Blake, what was that going into the break?
Yeah, so the kind of topic of discussion, especially in the SEC circles, because that's when it occurred, is these two teams, Arkansas and Ole Miss, started Game 3 with closers, the best pitcher on the roster, but it happened to be two closers. Now, obviously, Kevin Kopps had pitched long in the regional final. He pitched 7 innings, plus he had started some last year in 2020, the shortened season. He'd pitched long all year. So Kevin Kopps goes 9 innings, gives up 3 runs. Arkansas didn't lose because Kevin Kopps pitched. He pitched very well. On the flip side, Mike Bianco starts Taylor Broadway, who has, not been in that position, doesn't pitch very well. They obviously have to pull him early, and the rest is history. So the question faced for Chris Lemonis, Scott Foxhall and company today is, obviously Landon Sims is the best pitcher on the staff, left to pitch, so to speak.
Sure.
And probably the best, period. But in this situation, the best you have available. So the question, and they've all said he has stamina. So the question facing them is, do you start Sims or do you bring him in? And I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
That's a great question. Do you go with Houston Harding and try to get a couple of innings, and then if you do get into like the third inning, do you bring in Landon Sims there and try to eat up several innings if the game is obviously, well, I guess everything's on the table. It's all the chips are in. Or do you continue to pay, kind of try to throw one guy an inning or two throughout the day and just tell them they have to strike people out or you can't win? I thought somebody made a great point about that. And then you try to get to Landon later, even if that's earlier than, maybe the 6th inning, 7th inning. He has come in the 7th before. So it's a great question, Blake. He can go minimum of 50, but I think he can go north of 60. He's not necessarily been trained for that this year, but people feel like he's got that kind of juice. So I would tell you no on starting him. And maybe that's because, Kevin Kopps just threw, and it, like you said, though, it wasn't because of him. Now, Landon's not capable. I say he's not capable. As far as we know, he's not going to, like, if he took the ball tonight, Blake, he's not going to go 7 innings.
Yeah, he's not throwing 100 pitches. Yeah,
but I don't think he is, right? Even though Arkansas's ace reliever, who may be, in minor league baseball in the next 4 months or 12 months or whatever, did take the ball, like you said, in the regionals and pitched great, and in the super regionals and pitched great. I guess the other question for Ole Miss fans is, like you said, why did we start Broadway? Why,
Yeah. Who didn't have the history of going deep and it's not a shot at Broadway. Like, he is a good pitcher, but he's not Kevin Kopps. You understand the difference in making that decision if you have Kevin Kopps versus if you have Taylor Broadway. Like, they're not the same pitcher, so they're not equivalent decisions. So I thought it was very interesting that I thought Broadway was probably the best pitcher they had on the roster left, but right. I mean, you had two guys in McDaniel and Jack Doherty who have both shown you the ability to pitch as the starter at different times in the season.
Been kind of hot.
Yes, he had been. He had been hot.
The young man looks like he's going to be a fantastic pitcher for Ole Miss. So, those questions will be asked. Again, it's easy for us to second guess, but that did not go well. There's so much going on with a lot of times our teams will wrap up the year and we move on pretty quick to SEC football. But the discussion around Ole Miss baseball program and Mike Bianco will be, it's been 21 years of good to really good. It's been unbelievable. He's the reason why so many people go in the spring and fill that thing up and fill the town up and, whatever it is now, the 4 stadium expansions and all the things they've done underneath and whatnot. And the tens of millions and hundreds of millions of dollars that his winning has generated for, all sorts of entities and people and so on. The flip side is it could be a fan base that's a little exhausted. And again, a little fatigue of, man, we love him. He has represented us so well. He's an unbelievable ambassador, all that. We've won big, and he built it. But maybe it's time for a change. Maybe it's time for him to go to LSU. Can he say no to Skip Bertman and Ben McDonald if they make a real offer on, quote-unquote, coming home? The former players want Bianco. I know that. Ben McDonald wants Bianco. Skip Bertman, the former legendary coach, wants him. There are several others that are in the mix that kind of hang with Ben McDonald. They didn't necessarily play during he and Mike Bianco's tenure, but there are some others from those 90s teams. They want Mike Bianco. They want one of their own to come in and get the thing rolling again. Not that they've been that far off by any stretch. Paul Maneri's done a good job. And they believe that, I guess, the whole TOPS program, kind of the added value scholarship thing that they have in Louisiana and have had forever, is enough to, quote-unquote, allow Bianco to get over the hump, if you will. He's making 7 figures, well into 7 figures in Oxford, Mississippi. He's got 21 years in the state retirement system. He's sitting pretty. All his kids are gone. If there was ever a time for everybody to kind of a mutual parting of the ways, is it now? Can he come back? He can come back, obviously. His job is not in jeopardy. Keith Carter's not going to fire Mike Bianco. But how much fatigue will there be by next spring is my point. Or fatigue's not the word. I just think it's fun. We ride the roller coaster. We're 1-5 in Game 3s, Super Regional. And, we're minus 31 in Game 3s of Super Regionals under Mike Bianco. The flip side is we win 40-plus games every year. We're in the hunt. We live in Super Regionals. which is extremely difficult to do. So I don't know. I mean, is he Rick Stansberry? He's kind of Rick Stansberry here in the state of Mississippi. If you want to go kind of bigger and find a guy in another sport, there's a lot of Mark Richt there, which there was like 95% good with Mark Richt, and then 5% where it left you scratching your head. And then the also, it's hard to win in the postseason. Mike Martin Sr. could never win a title at Florida State. He lived in the College World Series. It's hard. It's extremely difficult. Arizona, won the national title in 2012. I think that was their first title since 1976. But the bottom line is they won one. And we're yet to hang the banner here in the state, either in Starkville or Oxford. So, and look, Mississippi State tonight, I think I'm giving the edge to Notre Dame. That's not going to make some of you happy. Oh, well. I mean, I've got it about 55-45, maybe a little bit more, Notre Dame, because of the 5 seniors and 3 juniors. I mean, when you're 9-hole hitter, 6 of 8, I may have missed an at-bat. He may have grounded out or something late in the game. He may be 6 of 9 or whatever. But, I mean, he's the 9-hole hitter and has lived on base all weekend. They can hit top, middle, back end of the lineup. I mean, they'll rip it doesn't matter. Dude number 7, lead off, whatever. Mississippi State's they've only got 2 guys that have been around a long time. Notre Dame is old. They've been shaving a long time. A lot of them have already checked out of their apartment. In other words, they won't go back to South Bend. They'll either go get a job in Chicago or they'll go to minor league baseball. I mean, Rowdy and Tanner have already checked out of their apartment, but that's only 2. When you've got 8 guys that are 5 are seniors, 3 are juniors, to me, that's a tremendous advantage. And somebody brought up a good point. You've been punching out 13 people a game. Your margin for error, and this is across the board in the Super Regional, and I understand this because there's so many good teams and so many amazing coaches and so much talent. And it was a fun weekend and a great weekend for college baseball. I've been a college baseball fan forever. A lot of people are new to the game, which is great, by the way. But when you have to punch out 13 people a game to win, I mean, I think it's pretty simple tonight. You have to mow people down or you're not going to win for Mississippi State. Right? You're averaging 13 strikeouts over 9 innings, Blake?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't it pretty look, baseball can give us another variable, and it may not be the case tonight. But wouldn't you quite simply say that Lemonis and Foxhall have to sit their pitchers down and go, you're pitching 1 inning? And the whole thing is you're not saving anything.
Yep.
That's how we coach you. That's how you're developed, and that's how we do it in the bullpen. And we talk about, understanding how to, maybe by the 30th pitch, you're really getting into your rhythm, and you should be at your best between pitch 30 and 70 and so on, or 40 and 70, whatever that is. But tonight, it's all about strikeouts. And if you're not punching people out, do you really have a chance against a lineup with 5 seniors and 3 juniors? In other words, you've got to take the ball and, mow people down. And if you don't, and they, generate base runners, which could generate runs, then how many base runners can you generate and generate runs from your lineup? Because you feel like Notre Dame has the advantage. Now, Notre Dame's rolling out a starter that has no experience for the most part. So you do have to factor that in. The crowd, amazing on Saturday and Sunday. Tonight, I would think you'll go down to 8,000 to 10,000. You did 14.3 plus, which I think there was every bit of 15,000 plus in there, if not more than that. Yesterday was a great crowd, north of 13,000. Still, 8 to 10 can get loud and get funky and get crazy. So the crowd factor is still there. I thought the crowd willed the team to, even with Notre Dame's 4 errors, they, it was a 9-8 game. And I think that kind of says something. And then they blew you out in game 2. Now, there is this thing in the program that the players, I don't think they're as, special talented on the mound, in the field, or at the plate. I mean, they're good in some areas, Hail State baseball. I do believe that they've overachieved. You could tell by Blake and our conversations this year. I've questioned a lot, and Blake does this. Sometimes you just do this to do this, but he said, yeah, but they have, X, Y, and Z has potential, and this has potential. And, well, here you are in June. You don't have a third starter. You didn't necessarily dominate with your 1 and 2s. And your lineup has been, Rowdy and Tanner, and then some hit and a lot of miss. That's not all doom and gloom. You're sitting here standing with only a few teams left, but the bottom line is I think this team has overachieved. They have to upgrade their talent on the field. There needs to be some serious competition at, several different positions this fall and next winter. But there is something in this program that John Cohen injected, if you will. And that is there's this thing that people eye roll or scoff at times, but there is a toughness, grit. They believe they should be here. They believe they should win the game. The baseball gods will eventually go our way in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. So we'll see. Notre Dame looks big, good, old, and all the things that you want to be. And Rowdy and Tanner can't strike out, and even Cam James. And they really haven't gotten anything from Luke Hancock, have they, Blake?
No, I mean the first month of the season was.
Isn't he 0 for the postseason almost?
Yeah, I'd have to look. I mean, I think he's gotten a hit or two, but it's not been.
Okay.
He has not been the guy. I mean, if you're going to have a 4-hole hitter, that he has not performed in that manner.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to beat up on him by any stretch.
No, but it's the truth of the matter is
player.
the offense has been. I mean, we can talk about the pitching, and yeah, it stinks. You shouldn't have given up some runs that you've given up, and part of that's your fielding too. But I mean, you don't win games in the postseason with 1 run. I mean, it just doesn't happen. So
no, and that's a great point. I mean, 1 run. 1 run against – I mean, I understand that Notre Dame has talent on the mound, but you score a run in the first inning and you get, goose egg.
And I think they didn't have 2 base runners until the 7th inning or something like that. I mean, it was bad. It just was not good for the Mississippi State offense. So this is as they like to say, this is a gut check opportunity for a lot of young players who, in theory, are going to be the face of your program moving forward if you're Mississippi State.
Yeah, and look, there's talent there. Clark and Cam James and Logan Tanner. And then you're going to have to see what all shakes out. You need to put an enormous amount of pressure on the second base position, the shortstop position, and the outfield positions as far as competition, and we'll see how that looks. Oh, and I guess Clark's going to first base next year. But anyway, what is Bianco going to do today? Tomorrow? Yeah, think about that. He's been there 21 years. So I think he took the job at 33 years old. Hard to fathom. Somewhere in there. And nobody knew who he was. Let's just be honest. You weren't tracking wherever he was, McNeese State or La Monroe or whatnot. Northwestern, I don't remember. One of the directional schools in Louisiana. And he comes in and literally wins immediately. Overnight. He and Dan McDonald and that crew, boom. Nobody knew he would have this kind of success, and now we're questioning his Game 3 Super Regionals. I get the sense that if he's ever going to leave, this is it, Blake.
I agree. What other job could possibly – you're not leaving for another job other than LSU. Exactly.
And honestly, if he stays, it could be a short stint in Oxford. And what I mean by that is just a little bit of fan exhaustion, a little bit of I love you, but I'm tired, a little bit of I got to have something else. What is over that next, Mountain, that type deal.
Can I argue this is a little bit of the age-old fable or parable of like, the grass is always greener? You look at your neighbor's yard, and you think, oh, that's a better yard, that's a better house, that's a better wife,
Sure.
whatever. And I think for Ole Miss fans, what they feel like is, hey, we've watched the same movie for 21 years, and so far the ending, while the middle parts are always fun, it's now become so regular, the ending, that we are expecting it. And when you come to expect that type of negative ending, it takes the fun out of the middle part.
Yeah,
so I
that's
almost think Ole Miss fans would rather risk the potential for a worse overall experience for the small glimmer of hope that the end might be different.
Yeah, that Godwin or maybe McDonald or takes it.
Whoever
takes it to another level.
it is. I mean, Joe Smith, it doesn't matter. Just the
Sure.
idea that you don't know what's going to happen is more appealing at this point than the theory that you already know what's going to happen.
That's true, especially as a sports fan. Yes. Well, anything in life, like you said. I will. Here's my question: who is around Mike Bianco that will tell him to go or stay? I mean, Keith Carter, you could argue, would like to sit him down and go, Mike, I can't say this on record. This conversation never happened. It may be time. We love you. You've been amazing. Something really cool will be named after you, whatever. And then the question, college baseball coaches don't move, Blake. And so it's almost not a poaching a college baseball coach from another program, D1 program, is virtually unheard of and impossible. Schlossnagle to A&M just doesn't happen often. But again, he kind of ran into a roadblock too. Okay?
Yep.
But they don't leave. For the most part, they don't leave. I don't know why. It's a, creature of comfort sport, whatever it is. Football coaches move all the time. Basketball coaches move all the time. We do not see that in baseball. It looks like Tony Vitello is staying at Tennessee. He's the hottest name on the coaching board in the country. And it looks like Knoxville will throw a bunch of money at him. He'll stay. Heck, they're in the College World Series. They could win it. And he's only 42 years old. Mike is still a young man. I mean, I think he's 54. Now, he's been at Ole Miss again forever.
That was my question. How long do you think he wants to still coach?
Well, and that's my deal. If he says no, how long is he really going to be in? I mean, how much longer can this thing go? Another season?
This is the only. But if he wants to coach another 5 to 10 years, this is the
Then you go
only
to
way.
LSU.
It's the only way you leave Ole Miss in a positive way, right? In an amicable breakup way.
Right. Oh man, it's crazy. Coaching's, especially one that's been around for so long. And would Cliff Godwin take the job from East Carolina? You would think yes. Some would think, hey, he'd walk here, and that may be the case. Just to get in this league and the money and the resources. Would Dan McDonnell leave Louisville? I don't think so. I know neither one of them were going to follow Mike, in my opinion, if Mike was fired. They have too much respect for him. This is a different deal, right? I mean, I did not believe that Godwin or McDonnell were going to follow Mike Bianco if he was fired. However, if he decides to leave on his own and take the LSU job, then where are we with Cliff Godwin and Dan McDonnell? Right? That's the $2 million question, I guess. Welcome in. Good morning. SEC Insider Hit brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Go to favorites.com. That's where you get the competitive quotes. Favorites.com. Bundle your auto and home. Save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent in any of the 82 counties in the state of Mississippi. Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line is 601-995-1059. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. Steve Robertson coming up in a couple of segments. Welcome in. Good morning on a Monday.